Everybody, what's going on? I am Gregg Sussman, joined today by Ricky Sanders of DailyRoto.com, who's here to break down tonight's NBA slate. What's happening, Ricky?
Nothing. Honestly, I feel like Alan from The Hangover with all those numbers floating around my head. I mean, after all these trades, there were a bunch of minor ones. We had the Andre Drummond trade, but we've got a few of the teams who were involved in some of those massive trades on the slate tonight. We got Miami, we got Memphis, but I think we've had enough time for the smoke to clear to kind of have a good gauge of who we're playing tonight.
Absolutely. And one guy we're definitely playing tonight, it's James Harden of the Rockets. There's no Russell Westbrook expected to play tonight because it's the second night of a back-to-back. West doesn't play those, which means James Harden's going to get all the minutes, all the usage, all the shots that he can handle. He needs to be in there tonight.
Yeah, you're not kidding with all the shots. I mean, the sample size without Russell Westbrook, the shot attempts alone are just otherworldly. He's averaged 33.2 shots without Russell Westbrook. And you can pretty much, until the end of the season, basically calculate that every one of these Rockets games is going to have a massive total because the Rockets don't have a true rim protector. They've got a bunch of guards. They're going to try and speed you up. We saw it a little bit last night. But, I mean, reasonably, this version of James Harden without Russell Westbrook, we would be paying over $13,000 for. I mean, his usage rate rises like 11 percentage points in the sample without Westbrook. His assist rate rises 7 percentage points. So he just becomes this rates monster, and he's priced below $12,000 on FanDuel. It's just not enough. James Harden, definitely a guy you're playing against a Phoenix team that struggled to defend opposing backcourts all year long.
Harden has to be in your lineup tonight. It's a no-brainer. The easiest star to put in there. Make sure you get him in. Let's continue on and move to another superstar that's got to play, and it's Jason Tatum. See, the Celtics have been battling a ton of injuries, and Tatum has been a consistent force for the most part. Tatum, back in there tonight, back in your lineups as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were unclear of who was going to play tonight. It looked like all the members of the big three were questionable. We just learned that Gordon Hayward is going to sit tonight. So we weren't sure exactly who was sitting. We thought someone would, and now we've got word that it's going to be Gordon Hayward, and they're playing the Atlanta Hawks. And remember, the Atlanta Hawks are a team that Jason Tatum basically less than a week ago went 43 FanDuel fantasy points against. This is a player who's averaging nearly 49 FanDuel fantasy points per game over the course of his last three, and he's up over 8,000, but you get this pace-up spot against a Hawks team that really has not been great against power forwards all year long. They speed teams up because they're a top four team in pace. And now you've got more usage flowing through Jason Tatum without Gordon Hayward. It's just a great spot again. And the price tag's really not as expensive, sort of like James Harden, as it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. The price tag is not all that high. Without Gordon Hayward, Tatum should see an increase in usage for himself, which makes Tatum a fine play on this big slate. Up next for us, Serge Ibaka. He's priced pretty highly tonight for the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are the hottest team in the NBA, having won 12 games in a row. A lot of that is thanks to Serge Ibaka. Certainly a big three the other night didn't hurt. Why do you like Ibaka in this game?
Well, Serge Ibaka was one of my favorite differentiation plays the last time that they played the Pacers, and that happened to be the last game. It was a loaded power forward position. I think that's the case again tonight, and I'm going right back to Serge Ibaka. It's such a good matchup for him. I don't think that smash was an accident, and it's because of the pick and roll. He acts as the roll man in the pick and roll at the sixth highest frequency of any player in the league. The five guys who are ahead of him, about 2 possessions a game they play in the pick and roll. So it's really limited sample, guys. Serge Ibaka, of the true starters, is the number one pick and roll player in the league. And even though Miles Turner is a good blocker, averaging about 2 blocks per game, the Pacers rank dead last in points per possession allowed to roll men on the pick and roll. So Toronto ate him up with that play type the last time. I think they're going to eat him up again. And Serge Ibaka just slightly over 6,000. Against this team, which is basically the best possible matchup for him if you take into consideration the play type, it's way too cheap again. So Serge Ibaka, pick and roll correlation, count me in tonight.
Love the pick and roll correlation there. Great breakdown, Ricky, of why Serge Ibaka has been so effective and his usage has gone the way it has. He deserves to be in your lineup tonight. Don't make a mistake. Get him in there. Up next, we need some value to get all these superstars in our lineups, and that value begins in Boston with Enes Kanter. He's back. He's healthy. No Daniel Tice expected to play again, which means Enes Kanter's in a good spot.
He's definitely in a good spot. I mean, this Hawks team even though they brought in Dwayne Dedmon, plays at such a fast pace that they speed you up and you get more possessions for your dollar. You know that, the same amount of court time for Cantor against this team versus a slow-paced team he should be more effective. So basically, we're expecting Cantor to be slightly more effective than his season numbers on a per-minute basis. And he played 25-58 his last time, so almost 26 minutes without Daniel Tice. We're projecting about the exact same role. And when Cantor's on the floor, he is producing. He's a 1.27 FanDuel fantasy point per minute producer this year. You give him 26 minutes of that against an average team, that's about 32-ish FanDuel fantasy points per game. And we're only projecting about 28 from Cantor tonight. So it should be a good spot here. He's not even priced at $5,000, but starting Cantor is definitely worth a more expensive price tag than that. I know the matchup might not be as good versus Dedmon as it was in the past for some of these Hawks centers, and still Enes Kanter belongs in your lineup.
Absolutely. With all the pieces missing in Boston tonight, we love Jason Tatum. We love Enes Kanter too. You should get him in there tonight. Another player that makes sense to play and is reasonably priced is Reggie Jackson, the Detroit point guard. Well, he might be the focal point of the offense now, Ricky, with Andre Drummond in Cleveland. Reggie Jackson makes it for a smart play.
Yes, he does. There's a little bit of concern with it being the front end of the back-to-back and a double-digit spread. And we did see Reggie Jackson kind of have his minutes toned down on the second end of the back-to-back the last time out. So there's concern that it could be the front end where he gets limited if this game is out of hand. But you look at just the general numbers lately. He's played 34-plus minutes in 2 of his last 3. He faces a Thunder team that's just a 21st percentile defense against ball handlers in the pick and roll, and Reggie Jackson's another guy who runs the pick and roll. He's the ball handler though, as opposed to Ibaka, who we talked about, who's on the other side. And it just so happens this defense struggles against the ball handlers there. I mean, Reggie Jackson has those floaters, which is basically his trademark move, and I think there should be a lot of those tonight. I think if you're playing Jackson, you probably want to play a member of the Thunder, because if he blows up, we should see full Thunder minutes as well.
Hopefully those minutes will be there tonight for Reggie Jackson. And on the front of the back-to-back, I get being a little bit nervous. Hopefully Jackson will do enough to make it worth your while to get him in your lineups. One last value player to get to, and that brings us to Kendrick Nunn for the Miami Heat. The Heat have made a lot of moves, but they're not all ready to get in there tonight, which means they could be short-handed, which means Kendrick Nunn should see a ton of minutes.
Yeah, he's averaged 33.5 minutes a game without Tyler Hero. There's no Tyler Hero, and there's no Jimmy Butler tonight. Andre Iguodala is supposed to be ready to play, but we're not sure if he's going to get any minutes, as a ball-handling guard, which should leave plenty of minutes available for Kendrick Nunn and Goran Dragic. And you look at the sample without Hero, Nunn over 22 real points per game, over 34 FanDuel fantasy points per game. We're projecting him for much lower than that, 24 FanDuel fantasy points per game, and he's still a guy popping into optimal. So you could reasonably get more aggressive with him and, more optimistic in the projection. But even at a toned-down projection, Ken Nunn, a great play tonight.
Even with the projection low, no Jimmy Butler, no Tyler Hero, short-handed. I don't think Andre Iguodala is going to play. He says he's not ready, which means Kendrick Nunn is going to get all of the minutes that he can handle on this slate. That's going to do it for us here for the FanDuel Hurry Up. Ricky, it's been a blast. Good luck tonight.
Good luck to you too, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We'll have to do it again soon. For Ricky Sanders, I'm Gregg Sussman. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday for another edition of the FanDuel Hurry Up.